I'm Eric Bricker, and I've been a psychotherapist for over 25 years. One thing I can tell you for certain is that no one makes it through life unscathed. At some point, many of us will rely on the trusted counsel of another person to help us navigate difficult times, or to reconcile a troubled past. Whether conventional or unconventional, professional or informal, there are a lot of different forms that helping relationships can take. This podcast is an exploration into what makes these relationships work. Who are the people that help us? How do they help us? What do people need help with? My hope is to uncover as much as I can about this very human phenomenon, and I hope that you'll join me. This is the Good Counsel Podcast. I'm Eric Bricker, and this is the Good Counsel Podcast. I am joined today by Laura Kunz. Laura, welcome.
Thanks.
Laura is the co-founder and chief growth officer for Spirence, which is a really unique company with some very cool offerings. I'm excited to talk to you about it, to talk about what you're doing. It's some really innovative work. And so for starts, explain to us what Spirence is.
Yeah. Well, thanks for having me. I'm a fan of your podcast, so it's really cool to be sitting here. And you're part of Spirence too.
I am.
He's been a great content contributor for us. So Spirence is a preventative mental health platform for employers. So we focus on the 75% of the workforce that is underserved by employee assistance programs and the traditional and like historical crisis-centered clinical models, because you have such a smaller percentage of your workforce that needs that identifies that they need that and want that. So yeah, that's what we do.
And this is what I think is really cool about that. So if you go back maybe 25 years, maybe more to like the early 2000s,
yeah,
large employers, auto manufacturers, utility companies, union type companies, they all had what was known as an employee assistance program, or at least a lot of them did.
Yep.
And what an employee assistance program is, it's a team or a consultant, behavioral health specialist or psychotherapist that had a relationship with human resources, that if the supervisor on the job saw that there was some kind of behavioral issue, maybe a drinking problem or a mental health issue that was affecting the person's work, or they were concerned about this person, they could get a referral to the employee assistance counselor, and then you'd have an expert who could assess the situation and maybe refer them on to a treatment center or psychiatrist or whatever else they needed. And I think as time has gone on, there are less and less companies that have these types of services available. I think that stuff has got cut out of a lot of employers, and a lot of corporations. I think the human resources process, a lot of that has been farmed out to, outside organizations. So it's almost kind of like this automated thing.
Yeah.
And it's become very impersonal. And what I like is you guys are sort of offering it something available for our modern era, right?
Yeah.
Because now you have these employers, supervisors, that people that are Spirence subscribers that have this library of material that they can look through, and they can actually educate themselves or be a little bit better informed about some of what they might be observing from an employee, and how to maybe systematically deal with these things if there's a lot of it. So I think that's really cool that you're making this available, and it seems like you guys have come along at a time when this is really, really necessary.
Yes, and so we sort of accidentally founded this company, and I can go through kind of the story of that. But to your point, it is timely, because really, even in the 2 years that we were in our beta phase, and then we went to market last January, prevention has become more at the forefront for employers. And, I think it took a little bit post-COVID, like COVID kind of blew the lid off of stigma nationwide and worldwide. For us mental health advocates, it's been shocking to see how many people are open to mental wellness now. You know, we're talking about mental illness, but people are also open to mental wellness and hopefully not getting to that place the same way that people are embracing preventative physical health now, way more than before, you know, instead of just a box check or kind of intellectually knowing, okay, if I eat right, you know, if I exercise, these things won't happen. People are like full force, you know. So on the mental health side, we're now seeing that same trend, and workplaces shockingly are starting to embrace that too. So just in this year so far alone, the conversations that we're having and the number of customers coming on board has drastically shifted, and people do want to take care of their employees. And then we're seeing the utilization of the platform. I mean, we have 26% utilization platform-wide across all of our employers in now, 10 different industries. So that's 20, and the average employee assistant have like 2%.
Oh, wow.
Utilization.
Well, it seemed like a lot of times in that model, and it was great that it was there, but it was kind of like, do you trust someone who's affiliated with your organization
Yes.
with this personal material, and is it really confidential and all of that? I think those are questions that people had.
Well,
And
yeah.
This is maybe a safer way.
That's exactly it. That's what the feedback that we get, that people do feel that, you know, the platform is confidential. So they go in, it's on demand 24/7. They can access it anytime, anywhere. I think that's important too, to think about how people learn today. And they're going to the internet anyway to learn these things. So why not learn it from a subject matter expert? Like, you're such a great example. I mean, you're educating on something like grief and loss in the platform, and it's not, the typical, this is grief and loss, and these are the 5 stages of grief. Like, your approach and your education in there is based on thousands of clients and families that you've helped over how many years?
Probably 25.
And like, when I listened to your stuff, I was like, dang, like, I just learned something. I just learned something of value that I know he knows because it has helped somebody before. That is not a box check. That's some really quality information.
Well, thank you for saying
Yeah.
that. And I mean, I know I've seen who you guys advertise on the platform.
Yeah.
They're part of the behavioral health. There's a lot of them that are part of the behavioral health community here in South Florida. And there are some really, really accomplished clinicians and folks that are part of this library. Yeah. And who I'm talking about specifically is me.
Yeah. Yeah. You're up there, Eric. I gotta say. You were like a top recruit.
You know what? I'm embarrassed I did it, but like, I'm not going to apologize.
I love you.
No, but that's one of the great things about launching a company like that here in South Florida.
Yeah.
Because we have a very robust behavioral health industry. And there are a lot of incredibly well-trained clinicians and professionals and experts in all different kinds of modalities. And you have access to these people. And the fact that, you know, it's sort of linked to Futures and Arenda, this other large, I guess, is it a parent company or are these two separate things?
It's all under a parent company.
Gotcha. Yeah. So you have access to a lot of these people. So it seems like it's just the perfect way to line up and organize a company like this, because you already have a bunch of people in-house who are very accomplished.
Well, that's really how it came about, was realizing that we had these resources at our fingertips and that we could repurpose them to help people at a larger scale and in a different way. Because another thing that we found with Spirence is that for our content contributors like you and Dr. Flannery, I mean, the list is endless of, like, to your point, these super talented, accomplished, passionate, experienced people. I mean, we have 70 plus content contributors with over 1,200 years experience collectively.
Wow.
In the industry. So, and an average of, I think it's 16 years experience in their specialty. And so we know in behavioral health that's meaningful to have people that have that much experience in their specialty. But when we realized that we could repurpose these resources, and just to give an overview for the listeners, so Spirence and Futures Recovery Healthcare is our sister company, and that's a residential behavioral healthcare center for adults up in Tequesta, Florida. And I think we've been around for 13 years, 14 years. Both Spirence and Futures are owned by a parent company called GMH. And they are a family office based out of Philadelphia, and they own a variety of companies across a variety of industries. So it's about $9.5 billion portfolio, majority on the student housing side. So they, at one point, were one of the largest owners of off-campus student housing in the country.
Oh, wow.
Yes, and military housing. So they would go on to military bases, and they'd, like you see with Futures, you see this beautiful kind of exceptional facility, but we still can offer affordable treatment to people, and people can use their insurance. They did the same thing in the student housing and the military housing space. That was their expertise that they brought into behavioral health. But long story short, so the bulk of their business is in the student housing space, and then Futures and Spirence are under their ventures arm. So they have alternative investments, and their family has a real passion for and a commitment to behavioral health. So, we've had Futures for 13 years. At Futures, the owner, Mike, and I, for a few years pre-COVID, had been reaching out to and building relationships with organizations like unions, corporations, and contracting with them for our residential services. So, we had a few really great, successful relationships from that. COVID hit, and some of those relationships would say, well, do you have anything on the wellness side? And we didn't. We were in the residential space. It wasn't something that we really thought about, to be honest, because you're so focused on crisis and treating people who are very sick and their families, and you're just in that space. So that's how this opportunity came about for Spirence, because we realized, so not only do we have access to this network, to your point, that has amazing knowledge to pass on the wellness side, but we also own a production company, the parent company. So one of their alternative investments is an Emmy award-winning production company.
It's good when you have one of those.
I mean, it's like, Mike and I were like, this makes sense. We can do this.
Well, I remember the film crew that did my presentation.
Yeah.
And you could tell, like, all right, these guys are pros.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. They know what they're doing. And it matters in terms of the user experience. So, we have a 90% completion rate in our resource library, and that's just one of the things that Spirence does, but it's the most popular of all the tools are the resource library, like that you're in. And so of the people who go to watch one of your videos, Eric, 90% watched until the end. And that's a big deal, and industry average is like 50%. So the fact that we have such engaging and knowledgeable presenters, number one.
I was going to say, I'm not surprised.
Yeah, and your video is the top video. Really, no one watches anything else, just Bricker.
Thank you. I mean, finally,
Yours is popular, though, unfortunately, but grief and loss is something that touches every person on the planet. So, and those are the types of topics you try to source.
So here's something I want to say about you and this whole thing. And how do I articulate this? Okay. So I think it means something to me that you did it. And I'm going to tell you why. You had a very, very successful career going in behavioral health, marketing, and business development. I mean, you've done that for a long time at high levels, very successful doing it. And this is a little bit of a pivot. Yeah. Same, but it's definitely not the same thing. And I'm thinking to myself as I'm watching you do this, if she's going all in on this kind of different thing, she must really, really believe in it. She must really, really buy into it, because it is a pivot. And you were good where you were.
Yeah.
Right. There was no problem there. I mean, you've done it for a long time. You've been very successful doing it. So for you to pivot into this relatively new kind of innovative venture, that's a shift. That's a risk.
Oh yeah, big time. And I realized I had not taken a lot of those in my career. And that was something that for my personal growth that I was ready for and open to when I kind of hadn't been in the past. And then to me, and just the way that I live and the beliefs I subscribe to, it was there. Like it was supposed to happen, it was almost like there was no getting out of it. Like here was the opportunity and I was the person to do it. And, I have to say, my parent companies and my co-founder Mike's belief in my ability to do it was kind of shocking to me because it's like, you start going down the path of doing something new. And of course you do market research, it's a new business. But we didn't really know what we were getting into or where we were headed or just how big the market opportunity was until we took a few steps down the path. And so it was a risk for me, and it was also a risk for our owners.
Sure, because
yes,
this is a big investment. You're using a lot of resources. Granted,
yes,
you had access to a lot of resources in-house, the production company and, the sort of the talent. But at the end of the day, this thing easily could have gotten scrapped in its infancy, right? If it's like, okay, we gave it a shot. It's not getting the traction we want. All this effort that you put into getting it together and building all the building blocks and everything that you did to prepare and launch this thing could have been a big waste of time.
Well, right. And then they would have taken me off of futures, which, I had been there.
I was thinking to myself, was that a possibility also if you...
Well, right. Because we had to make that decision collectively of, okay, I've worked for this company it'll be 10 years in a month. And so that's how long I've been at Futures. And, in my role there, you're branded to that facility. And I had, lack of a better term, a huge book of business for people who trust me to field those referrals, so it was a process of, reintroducing those relationships to other amazing people at Futures that could take care of those families and those clients as well as they felt I could. That was tough. There was about a year there where I was juggling both. I will say that was probably one of my harder career stretches because I truly was doing both roles. You're building something from nothing. I won't say from nothing. We did have all these great resources, but you're building a new concept and putting it into a new industry where you don't know anybody. And I think we underestimated that too. And then you have the period where you do start to get enough market traction to be like, okay, now I could fail, but I could not. You're like, okay, I see it, but dig in harder. And
that would have been very inconvenient.
Oh my gosh. But I mean, and you still feel like you're there sometimes, but it took me back to when I started in behavioral health almost 17 years ago. And, I didn't know anybody. And back then in my previous role, it was a bunch of 50-something men and me. There were not a lot of female marketers. I was like 27 years old.
I'm sure they were all very nice.
Oh my gosh. It was like, I actually met a few people early on, some mentors. And to this day, I credit those people. Tammy Urich, there were a few women who took me under their wing and they were like, oh gosh, here, honey. Like this is going to be tough, but you can do it. But I channeled that because I knew I had done it before. I had built something out of nothing in an industry where I knew no one. And, so I've really had to dig deep and channel that energy and just continue to trust the process.
Yeah, I'm watching this thing unfold, and a lot of that is happening, online. And then there was a time where it just kind of clicked for me, like, she's not doing any Futures or Orenda stuff anymore. She's not really doing anything with the treatment center. She's all in on Spirence. It's a different, and then there are other people, and I know some of them, the folks at Futures, they're doing that work. And I'm thinking to myself, wow, she's all in on this. What a pivot.
Oh my gosh. Well, it's wild that you observed that, because I actually think back to remembering that feeling too, of when it was like I let go of that rope and it was like, okay, now your time has to be allocated. And I will say our leadership at Futures and GMH is unbelievable. These are super smart, super talented people. And they helped me make that transition. There were times where they'd have to be like, Laura, let go. You have to let go of this to be able to do this well for us. We need you to do this well for us. We need your skills, your time, your energy here. And this is going to be okay. We're taking that risk too. We're taking it together, but this will all be okay.
No, it's amazing.
Yeah, we've got I can't say enough about our people there.
Yeah. So the word Spirence, as I just learned online so it's spirit and experience. It's the combined word, spirit and experience. And that's where we get Spirence.
Oh yeah. Right.
What I don't understand, what does the bird have to do with
Oh my gosh.
What's the bird doing in there? What is going on with the bird?
Oh, man. I was really tired that day. They said choose an icon. And I was like, I like hummingbirds. No, kidding. But it was a similar. So these are things that I didn't realize either. Because most people in their careers, you've built a brand from nothing. You come into a company, it's all done. You show up, you plug in, you've got a job description. When you're building something that doesn't exist, every single piece of it has to be put into place by somebody. So when you're leading a startup, that person really, for a lot of it, is you. And so that was another moment of, oh my gosh, we're really doing this, is when our owner, Mike, and my co-founder, and he's been my boss for, direct boss now for 8 years, was like, naming companies is my least favorite thing. So it's all you, name it, develop the brand. We have a marketing team at GMH. And so I worked with them, and we were struggling on the icon. And it was actually Mike's wife that was like, hummingbirds are cool. Like, let's look at the symbolism of a hummingbird. And when we looked at the symbolism of hummingbird, we were like, that's
what
perfect.
Is the symbolism?
That's perfect.
What is the symbolism?
Oh, if only I could tell you right now. I don't remember.
I'm sorry.
I know it's super inspiring. No, but I will tell you. So we want to talk about spirituality and taking the leap, but then also having the support along the way, whether it's through human beings or signs or whatever your belief system is. The team and I have seen hummingbirds randomly throughout this whole thing at pivotal times in building this. Like hummingbirds in places you wouldn't see them in the wild, like South Florida. You know what I mean? So it's been cool. There's been this element, it's like our director of wellness buys a house in Okeechobee, and she gets up to the front door and there's a hummingbird next to the house number, cool. Or, I'm having a really tough day saying, having to make a personnel change. This was a year and a half ago. And I'm in the car, crying because I love this person and but they're just not a fit. And I look up and I see a hummingbird in my front yard and at the flower, and you're just like, what? I've never seen a hummingbird in 17 years in South Florida. But this helps me know I'm doing the next right thing, even if it's hard.
Yeah, that's really cool.
Yeah.
That's right. And it looks like it belongs there.
Yeah.
It definitely does. It definitely looks like it belongs there. I'm just like, there's this thought to the name, and I'm like, well, I'm just like, well, what's with the bird, And,
yeah, there was thought to everything. There was thought to everything, because this is something that we all set out to do, really wanting it to succeed, really believing in it. So you're like, okay, let's do it right.
Do you want to hear a really funny story about spirit animals?
Always from you. I want to hear something funny.
All right, this is a true story. So when I was working at the Wellness Resource Center, it kind of backs up to the woods. The clinical building does. It backs up to the woods, and there was something of a preserve back there. And one day when I was coming out of the building at night, I saw 2 foxes, one behind the other, walking together. And I'm like, oh, wow, that was wild. So the next day I go to work and I tell everybody about it. I saw the 2 foxes. And so the yoga instructor who, the yoga instructors, the yoga instructor.
What about them, Eric?
No, but as far as the woo-ness of people to really engage in some heavy symbolism about a couple of hungry, carnivores that just happen to be wandering around, we got a whole, that's a very spiritually significant thing.
Yes.
And all this, the yoga instructor says to me, I'm like, oh, wow, I had like a big spirit animal experience, right? So I go home that night and I have this dream, and it's very vivid. And the dream is that I see one of the foxes in the woods, and I go chasing after it. And we come out of the woods and into somebody's neighborhood, and I see the fox run into a garage. And so I walk up to the driveway into the garage, and there's a little girl there, and she's got like a cardboard box, and there's a puppy in it, and she's playing with the puppy. And I went in there and I said, have you seen a fox come running in here? My spirit animal is here and all this, right? And
in your dream?
Yeah. And she's like, that's not a fox, that's my dog, Oscar, or whatever. And she's just playing with a puppy in the, that was in the cardboard box. It was a very vivid dream. So the next day I go to work and I see Dr. Mavica, the psychiatrist, who also is kind of somewhat classically trained in psychoanalysis.
Yeah.
And we were friendly and would talk about dream interpretation and all that. He loved that sort of stuff. So I told him the whole story about the foxes, and I told him the yoga instructor's interpretation of what the foxes meant. And then I told him about the dream. And I said, so what do you make of all that? And he goes, what I make of all that is that you think the yoga instructor is kind of full of shit, Eric.
Yeah. Oh, that's funny because it showed up in your dream.
Yeah, that the fox turned into a dog, and a little kid was telling me that's not a spirit animal fox, Eric, because this is my dog, Oscar.
That is hilarious.
Yeah, that was his interpretation of it.
I was not expecting that.
No, I wasn't expecting to say it, but it's just to me, it's just one of those really funny moments of oh, it's so fantastic.
Yeah, that's so Eric.
It's just so fantastic. I never really shared that with anyone, but so I'm glad we had an opportunity to do this here.
Yeah, so spirit animals aren't your thing.
I believe in it. I love the idea of it, but just my story of it has to be, something neurotic,
Well, yeah, and I also think that it's different for everybody how they're guided.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a totally different experience for every person, so.
Yeah, and we're actually at home, we're very much dog people. We're way, way into dogs.
Oh, dang.
Yeah.
See, that's a connection.
To us, it is.
Yeah, I believe.
They're part of every, presentation. They're,
I know they are our best friends. They're the best.
Yeah. Well, I think there's a very special relationship between, you're a dog owner.
Yes.
Yeah. You have a Labradoodle?
He's a cockapoo.
Oh, cockapoo.
Yeah.
Okay, which is not even close to being a Labradoodle. I don't know.
No, but all the mixed breeds blend together.
Gotcha.
It's tough.
Gotcha. Thank you for thank you for gracefully letting me off the hook with that gaffe welcome. That just happened.
You got it.
So I really like dogs, and I think that there's a kind of a special relationship that they have to people because they have pack drive. They genetically select for it in the same way that we do, that we function best in families and communities.
Yeah.
And dogs, it's the same thing. And
they were wolves, right? Yeah.
They were. They said that all dogs share 99% DNA with wolves. That's sick. Even your cockapoo.
I love it. He thinks he's a wolf 100%.
Of course he does.
Yeah. He'd be mad when I call him cute. He's a man.
No, he's dominion over the property. Yeah, so so I just think that they're special. It's almost like the connection between human beings and dogs in a way, to me, was sort of preordained, like it was meant to occur.
It's got to be something like that, because I feel like, at least for me, it helps with presence too.
Well,
like if I'm ignoring my dog, I'm off the chain. You know?
It's very rare in nature that you see such a perfect cooperation between like an interspecies relationship like that.
Yeah,
You know?
see, I would like to learn more about that actually.
It's
to
really
see
cool.
what other interspecies relationships kind of mirror that, or if it's really that unique.
Well, it's relational, and I think it's because they have pack drive, so they understand the idea of being part of a family and a community, different than other pets. So I have this joke, right? When I come home, my dog Marty, my male dog, will always bring me something. He'll bring me one of his toys or bring me something, and it's literally like he's giving it to me. And that's part of that relational thing. And people, and I'm like, okay, I know that you have a cat and it does the same thing, right? Like, but to me, leaving a dead bird on the doorstep is a little bit different than what my dog does. That's not really a present. I actually think that that's meant to be like a warning, because cats.
What do you mean?
Because cats are very predatory.
Yeah.
And they're just like, see this bird? He never saw it coming.
Yeah, they're interesting creatures.
He never saw it coming. And, and
This could be you.
Yeah, sneaking around the house and stuff. So I don't know. That's me thinking about that stuff. But anyway, that was a little bit of a bizarre segue into spirit animals.
I expect nothing less from you at all.
We're keeping it interesting.
Yeah.
So let me ask you, the future of Spirence, where do you guys go from here? What's next for you guys?
Well, we are at the point of growth. So we solidified a partnership with Aon a couple months ago, and they are one of the top 3 world's largest brokers, benefits brokers, and it's an exclusive partnership. So we are the mental health product that they believe in, and they service the jumbo market. This is all this employee benefits industry jargon that I didn't know when I got in.
You've never heard of the jumbo market?
I know. I had not. I did not know any of this. So big learning curve, just like when I used to Google things in this industry when I first being non-clinical, I'd be like, oh man, PHP, what's that? So the jumbo market are large employers. So they service the huge 70,000 member organizations, the huge.
And when you say service, you're talking about like the packaging of insurance benefits and
right.
all of that.
Right.
So if you're working with them, then Spirence becomes maybe part of the benefits package that's brought into a company. It's an offering that Aon is now offering to these companies that are contracting with them.
Right. And it's one that they plan to put front and center. They really believe in the preventative side. And we are one of the only products, I'd say in the United States, maybe the only product that is solely focused on prevention. There's a Spirence of Canada. That's what we call it. And, they're actually more into harm reduction on the SUD side, on the substance use disorder side.
Gotcha.
We believe in, in abstinence, we believe in mindful drinking and sober curiosity for the person who doesn't have a developed condition. So there's some differences there, but we're all in on prevention. And so the data in that industry now shows in your face that preventative mental health is needed to maintain a healthy workplace. And SHRM, which is the body that oversees the HR profession in the corporate world, just published another study in May that said, employers, we've got to start looking at prevention because people are willing to be proactive now, like I said earlier, on the physical health and the mental health side. So especially these newer generations coming into the workforce, they're like, hey, employer, what do you have for me? Like to your point earlier, I'm not calling that phone number that goes to the EAP. It's weird. I can never reach anybody. So what do you have to keep me well? What do you have to keep me feeling balanced?
So you're talking about like Gen Z types that are entering the workforce.
Yeah. And really, though, that's now spanning up to really all generations other than the boomers. We still kind of come up against that wall with our boomers in this industry of, when it's suck it up, buttercup. When we came in, we didn't have any of this stuff, quit getting soft or whatever. Now, that's not the voice of every boomer, but it can be the collective workforce voice of boomers at times. So my point, yes, organizations like Aon are now recognizing, due to data and due to their work with large employers, that what Spirence and other companies are doing on the prevention side is important.
That's really interesting on a cultural level when you think about how our thoughts about mental wellness have shifted. Even that whole dynamic that this large company that services large companies is thinking, okay, how can we align with this and how we have to offer something? And that puts you guys in a perfect position. That's fantastic. So now you're not reaching just local companies around here. I mean, you're talking about having access to putting Spirence available to organizations that have 70,000 employees or more.
That's our everyday now in terms of like the pipeline that we have of who we are hoping to and looking at supporting in the future. And we do have a variety of customers at this point, but most are, I think it spans from like 42 to 6,500 employees. So when you do get into the jumbo market, my inner mental health advocate geeks out because I'm like, oh my gosh, to be able to help. And we just launched in May a content licensing partnership with one of the largest banks in the world. So they have 116,000 US-based employees. They rolled out Spirence content on substance use disorders, and they are running campaigns on it directly to their employees. Like, that would not have happened 5 years ago.
No, that's wild.
This bank, it's a household bank. I can't say the name, but no, it's wild. But they said people are ready. Like, they're ready to look at if they have a problem. They're ready to identify that before it becomes a problem. They're ready to have those hard conversations with people. Like, this was not the case 5 years ago. We know in the residential industry, it was like, I have found our content contributors, and I think I said this earlier, if I didn't, I want to, are also passionate about doing this because we have seen the devastation of these conditions progressed. And sometimes by the time it gets to that point, it can be too late. So the fact that you have an employer saying, we don't want it to get to that place either. We have a unique position in people's lives. They are looking at the benefits we offer them, and that's actually a deciding factor of if they stay here or not. It's a very interesting time in the employee benefits space.
Yeah, no, that's incredible.
Yeah.
It sounds like everything is going according to plan. It's really...
I make it sound good, but it's very hard.
Yeah, you definitely make it sound good. It sounds like it's been a wild education for you.
Wild. It has been very, very difficult.
Yeah, that's great. I'm excited as you're talking about this because I know, and this is maybe a promotion for anybody that is interested in being a content provider for you guys, because on the other side of that, you do have a provider network where there's access to the content providers. If you want that, I signed up for that.
Yes.
So to think about that, my material is going to be available to organizations with 70,000 people.
Yes.
And that people from these companies, if they like this or they want to talk to me more about this or whatever that is, they have access to me now. They can get in touch with me directly. And that you've provided that opportunity for people like me.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Well, and that's happening because as we scale, that is happening. So I would say mostly on the coaching side so far is we have a bench of certified coaches and we have coaches in our network. And that's a really popular request in the platform is people want executive coaching or we have not had anybody for sober coaching, which I'm not surprised, just with the population we go for in there. We have had someone reach out. They watched Substance Use Disorders 101 and it was taught by Brooke Kefner. I don't know if you remember Brooke. And they watched 2 modules. and it was how to identify if I have a problem and, whatever. And then they reached out for help. They thought they needed residential, and, we recommended a professional in their area. Like, to your point, we have a curated network, and they did an assessment and went from there. So that is a unique feature for both the contributors and us, is that we know you guys, so we know who they're getting. Because we don't take that lightly coming from behavioral health. We're not just gonna fill the network with random people. And I didn't realize this, but a lot of employee assistance networks, like the way they're curated is not as carefully.
My understanding of generally how that works is, okay, here's the employee assistance counselor, and then you have the benefits package. So let's say it's United. Well, what I'm really working off of is United's behavioral health network. Like,
yes.
Whoever's in network with United, that's who I'm going to refer to you, because it matches up with it. So probably a lot of it is based on that, and maybe there are certain treatment programs or whatever that have worked out. But this is a very different level that you're operating on in terms of the variability, because you're delving into all areas of behavioral health care.
Yeah. I mean, really, the focus is on that preventative side and the 75% who aren't sick.
Yeah.
But mental health literacy has all sorts of data that shows that when that's built in someone or their loved ones or their circle even, that it produces better long-term outcomes on the behavioral health side when somebody maybe is sick already with a mental health condition or substance use disorder, or decides that they need care. They're more informed about what kind of care they need. I mean, think about even your module. It's like, I think most of our presenters will educate on, this is what PTSD looks like, but these would be when you would need help, when you would need to come see me.
Yeah.
That's really valuable for people who know nothing about behavioral health, their own needs, their own symptoms. Super empowering for people. So that's the goal, is to prevent people from needing it and keeping them well, or helping people better navigate it if they are sick or they get sick.
Yeah, I think we would do well to create a more mentally balanced workforce in America. I don't think anybody is looking to argue against that. Have you guys done anything outside of the country?
We have a few companies that we're talking to that are outside of the country. We have one potential partnership in Greece.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, we're there over in Europe. This company is like a known assessor for behavioral health, and they want to add an arm on. And then we have several organizations that are international. So like, we offer the platform in 130 plus languages, and
wow.
we're built for international.
Well, it sounds like sky's the limit here. Yeah. And you guys are really on your way. So I'm so thrilled to hear about this, and that the kind of success that you've had. It's also really interesting.
Thanks.
And it sounds like you got on the ground floor and kind of really, it's your thing at the right time, the right idea, and it's all coming together. And I'm sure it'll continue to succeed in the future.
Well, thank you. I will say, and I do not say this lightly, I might have been a consistent leader through this, but it does not happen without really talented people. And it's a hill that I'll die on. All those years in behavioral health, seeing how few companies will really invest in and value top talent. Like, I've seen the difference in that, building a company from the ground up. Like, you have to bring in top talent, because they bring that intellectual capital, they bring the innovation, they bring the passion, they bring the, so it's like, I think about that. I'm like, if more behavioral healthcare companies really valued and understood top talent and how much that affects the end user, which in that space is the patient, that might look different too.
It might. It would. It would.
Right.
It would.
Right.
It would. Well, again, Laura, thank you so much. Any closing thoughts? Anything that you want to, like, if anybody wanted to find out more about Spirence, if you happen to be listening to this and you're an employer, what what's the next steps for an employer who wants to engage with you guys or find out more about your services?
Oh, thank you. Yes, www.spirencewellness.com. And you can also find us on LinkedIn, on Instagram. And then we have a podcast for employers. So it's Prevention Pioneers. And you can find it on all major platforms. Yeah, you can always find me and reach out to me.
It's a good name. I mean, it's definitely on brand.
Yeah. We bring
brand.
all sorts of angles of prevention and just super passionate about that. So.
All right. Well, again, Laura Kunz from Spirence. I can't believe I just did it.
You did it.
Laura Kunz from Spirence. And I'm Eric Bricker. This is the Good Counsel Podcast, available at Apple, Spotify, Google Podcast, my website, ericbrickerlmhc.com. Thank you for joining me.
Oh, thanks, Eric. It's good to see you. Always good to be with you and talk to you. And you make me laugh.
You too. Thank you.
Thanks.